Welcome back to A World Gone Mad, the podcast where the headlines get stripped down, beaten with a rubber chicken, and tossed into the flaming dumpster that is modern democracy. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf, your spiritual tour guide through this decaying theme park of late-stage capitalism where nothing works, nobody's in charge, and the cotton candy costs $17. This is WTF Wednesday, the midweek meltdown where I stop pretending I'm holding it together. I start calling this circus exactly what it is. A corrupt, bloated, spinning toilet bowl of greed, cowardice, and denial. And we're circling the drain with a smile on our face and an American flag in one hand. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. You're either deeply awake or permanently pissed off. Either way, you're in the right place. Because I'm not here to coddle you, distract you, or soothe your nerves with bipartisan baby powder. And I'm sure as hell not here to echo headlines and chase clicks or likes that some of the other podcasters do for attention. This is WTF Wednesday, where I don't screw around, the gloves are completely off, I'm caffeinated to the max, because these stories aren't about just politics. This is a full-scale attempt to rewrite America in real time. What the fuck is going on? And why the hell are we pretending it's normal? So grab a drink, strap in, say goodbye to your last ounce of sanity, because it's time for another WTF Wednesday. Let's talk about what just happened. Or more accurately, what is happening behind closed doors in Washington, D.C. Now, in the last 24 hours, Vice President J.D. Vance hosted a private dinner at the Naval Observatory, not a state dinner, not a public briefing, a damage control summit. Let that phrase marinate for a second. The Vice President of the United States hosting a mafia-style sit-down to figure out how to make one of the ugliest scandals in modern American history less ugly. Around the dinner table, Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and a rotating cast of Trump's most loyal fixers and silencers. The menu? Probably filet mignon with a side of sealed subpoenas. The mission? Manage the fallout from the Epstein files. Because if there's one thing the Trump administration does well, it's not justice. It's manipulating the truth. Why? Because new leaks are coming. Reportedly hours of audio, transcripts, maybe even names, tied to Epstein's Maxwell, his lady friend, tied to the flights, the finances, the power. And with victims' families calling out the government for its silence, the pressure is climbing. So naturally, cocktails and coordinated messaging. They're treating a national sex trafficking scandal like it's a PR hiccup before dessert. So what does your leadership do? They don't hold a press conference. They don't call Congress. They throw a private dinner party and plot the spin before the truth breaks. One insider says they're planning a controlled release, staggered drops through friendly media, maybe even a guest slot on Joe Rogan's podcast to soften the blow. Apparently the plan is to bury Epstein bombshells between podcast banter about elk meat and testosterone supplement commercials, as if that somehow makes it palatable. You can almost hear the pitch. Don't worry, America. We've got child sex trafficking covered, right after this segment on primal screaming and cold plunges. Let's be clear. This isn't about transparency. This is about curating the narrative. It's about taking one of the darkest scandals in American history and making sure it lands on the public's tongue the way they want it to taste. They're not denying the story. They're flavoring it. It's like sprinkling cinnamon on a corpse. The same DOJ that claimed to investigate Epstein is now deciding which scraps you're allowed to see. The same FBI that once raided homes is now sipping cocktails and arranging which bodies to bury, metaphorically or otherwise. This isn't about law, it's about optics, about control, about protecting the powerful by steering this story away from the fire. They're not just shielding the guilty, they're dressing up history with white linen napkins. And if they can rewrite this story, what else do you think they're rewriting right now? But covering up scandal is only the start. The real power play? Erase the people trying to stop it. While the Epstein dinner was about managing fallout from the top, Texas is going full sledgehammer from below, using troopers, courts, and fines to crush dissent in real time. So the local resistance is hunted, the dissenters dragged back. Welcome to the part of the show where the Constitution gets drop-kicked in the balls by a governor with a vendetta. Texas Governor Greg Abbott didn't just cross a line. He took a flamethrower to it, danced on the ashes, and asked the Texas Supreme Court to clap along. Here's what happened. Texas State Representative Gene Wu, a Democrat from Houston, an attorney, and one of the loudest thorns in Abbott's side, showed up to court this week as a defense lawyer for one of his own constituents. Normal, right? A legislator helping a citizen navigate the legal system? Not in Greg Abbott's Texas, because the moment Wu stepped into that courtroom, state troopers arrested him. Let me repeat that. A sitting elected lawmaker was arrested while practicing law in court for trying to defend someone who dared to challenge the state of Texas. The charge against him? Contempt. Why? Because Abbott signed a new law, barely a few weeks old, that says if you're a legislator, you can no longer serve as a legal counsel in any criminal case, even if you're licensed, even if it's your job, even if you're representing the very people who elected you. This wasn't about legal ethics. This was about power. Greg Abbott, Texas governor, and his pals aren't just rewriting the rules. They're rewriting the roles. You're a legislator? Sit down. You're a lawyer? Too bad. You're both? Congratulations. You're now a criminal. And here's the kicker. After Wu was arrested, the governor's office went straight to the Texas Supreme Court, demanded they issue an emergency order banning Wu from practicing law at all during this legislative session. Forget checks and balances. Greg Abbott, Texas governor, wants Wu gagged, bound, and booted from every branch at once. And why stop there? Because this law doesn't just affect Wu. It affects dozens of other Democrats, legislators who happen to be attorneys, prosecutors, defenders, civil rights advocates, people with an actual spine. And now they either stop practicing law or get dragged out in cuffs. This is authoritarianism with a cowboy hat. It's judicial warfare dressed up as ethics reform. Abbott is using the law like a blackjack, swinging it at whoever speaks up, whoever stands up, whoever doesn't play along. They couldn't beat Wu on the floor. They couldn't silence him in committee. So now they're weaponizing the courts to erase him completely. And if you think it ends with him, just wait. Because when fascism puts on boots, it starts in Texas, and it doesn't walk, it kicks. So the local resistance is hunted. The dissenters drag back. But what about the people who once did hold the powerful accountable? Well, in Trump's world, they're next. Because the Trump machine isn't just going after enemies of the state. They're going after enemies of his state. And Jack Smith, he's public enemy number one in their revenge fantasy. This is the guy, if you remember, who had the audacity, the fucking gall, to hold a former president criminally liable. Not with treats, not with think pieces, with real deal federal charges for obstruction, conspiracy, and the theft of national secrets. You remember that? When Trump boxed up classified files like there were his golf shirts and hid them next to a goddamn bathroom chandelier? And Smith didn't flinch. He filed charges, went after the conspiracy, named names. He put the law above the throne. And what did Trump world do? Well, they mounted a legal defense, countered the facts. No, of course they didn't do that. They declared open war on the prosecutor. Jim Jordan, legal sock puppet and human foghorn, is now demanding Jack Smith cough up internal memos, legal strategy, private notes, maybe even his Spotify playlist. Because nothing says innocent like trying to disembowel the past investigation that's holding your guy accountable. And this isn't just political theater, it's narrative arson. They're not just denying the charges, they're trying to criminalize the investigation from Jack Smith itself. Paint Jack Smith as a deep state zealot, a partisan thug, a bloodthirsty agent of the left, anything to flip the script and cast Trump as his poor little victim who just wanted to keep a few souvenirs from the Oval Office. It's gaslighting and surround sound, with Fox News running cover, right-wing media fanning the flames, and congressional bootlickers rehearsing their lines like it's a dinner theater for fascists. And what's the goal? Simple. Make any future prosecutor think twice before they ever charge someone in power again. Put the fear of God into the justice system. So the next time the next Jack Smith does a prosecution, they say, yeah, maybe it's not worth it. This is revenge politics at its most dangerous, where the truth itself is put on trial, and the people sworn to enforce the law are hunted like enemies of the state. And while all this happens, who's sounding the alarm? Certainly not the media networks, not the Congress, not the courts, obviously, but someone is. Enter the open letter dropped on August 5th by over 2,300 Writers Guild members: Spike Lee, Adam McKay, Celine Song, Gillian Flynn, John Waters, heavy hitters from both WGA, East and West Writers Guild. These aren't just celebrities posting Instagram stories. This is MAGA's most powerful villains being called out on a battlefield they can't ignore. Culture. What did the letter say? It said partially, we don't have a king, we have a president, and the president doesn't get to choose what's on stage, on screen, on the written page, or in the news. Let that sink in. As Daddy-in-Chief threatens PBS, sues 60 Minutes for $16 million, and leans on the FCC to scrub dissenting voices from major media rollouts, this isn't just pushback. This is a literary and artistic revolt. They plead, they beg, they're screaming. We stand on the bedrock belief that storytelling, fearless comedy, and unflinching reporting are indispensable to a free democracy. They're not flinching. They're calling it what it is: an authoritarian assault on free expression, on art, on narrative itself. Think about it. Trump's defaming 60 Minutes, threatening to pull broadcast licenses from PBS and NPR, using the collusive power of Congress to collapse public broadcasting funding, shutting it down after 57 years. This letter wasn't big thinkers in ivory towers. It wasn't academics in a think tank. It was the people who create reality for the rest of us, the writers, the filmmakers, the comedians, literally yelling into the void, we're here, they're coming, act before we all go silent. Because this letter isn't just about culture, it's about memory. And when the people who shape stories are warning that the story itself is being erased, you'd better fucking listen. Because if memory is erased, then nothing can be proven and no one can be held accountable. This isn't normal. The people who shape culture are begging us to pay attention. It ties the arc together with a chorus of voices saying they're not just changing policies, they're silencing memory itself. This is more than culture war. This is reality war. And it ties the whole damn arc together. First, the elite cover-up scandal to rewrite history. Then the states erase dissent to rewrite law. Next, the justice system targets the truth enforcers to rewrite consequence. And now the creators, the ones who chronicle all of this, are sounding the alarm because they know, and to re-emphasize their point, they're not just changing policies, they're silencing memory itself. This is how history dies, Wolfpack listeners. It doesn't collapse with a bang. It gets slowly sterilized, edited out, laughed out, banned out, until what's left is a caricature of truth they can sell as reality. So here's your final salve. They tried to bury the story. They knocked Wu off the floor. They smacked Smith with subpoenas and strategy leaks. But they forgot one thing. Writers remember, artists rebuild, and storytellers, like myself included, we don't just survive the rewrite of America. We expose it, word by urgent word. This is a world gone mad, the WTF Wednesday edition. Not about politics. It's about fighting back before memory goes missing. And it truly bears repeating again. Please listen. This isn't normal. The people who shape culture are begging us to pay attention. It ties the arc together with a chorus of voices saying, and I'll repeat, they're not changing policies, they're silencing memory itself. 4 stories, 1 pattern. This isn't dysfunction, it's design. The scandals are being cleaned up, the truth tellers are being hunted, the past is being rewritten. And the only thing left standing between a lie and history is who's still willing to say, what the fuck is going on? This isn't politics. It's an active rewrite of America. If this episode rattled you, good. It was meant to. Because this just isn't chaos. It's a calculated rewrite of reality. And if no one calls it out, it becomes the new normal. And I'm honestly going to say that if you don't share this episode of A World Gone Mad with other people, then I give up. I need to hear from you. Email madworldtalk@gmail.com, madworldtalk@gmail. Voicemail toll-free 24/7, 833-399-9653. Tell me what's hitting you the hardest. What, if anything, I missed? What needs to be said next? And if you believe in what I'm doing, leave a review on Apple or Spotify. Your stars and comments are what keep this podcast alive and visible. Without them, it disappears and silence wins. Look, there are a lot of voices out there, and I know because some of you flood my Facebook groups with links to them. Some of these voices have bigger platforms, some with bigger budgets. But what I promise you here and from me is no bullshit. No fake outrage. No viral bait just to chase clicks and likes. Just the truth. Straight, unfiltered, unbought. And if that matters to you, I hope you'll support it. This has been A World Gone Mad, WTF Wednesday edition. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. Back Friday. Until then, stay skeptical, stay focused, and most of all, stay hopeful.